What's up? Welcome to the stack. Welcome back. If you've been here before, I'm neonmushroom, and today we have another Commander EDH gameplay video for you guys. This one is pretty awesome. I won't tell you too much about why. You'll find out in like 7 minutes or however long this game was. That's everything you guys need to know. Let's go ahead and take a look at who's playing, what decks they're playing, and what opening hands they've decided to keep, in addition to some normal upkeep stuff.
As always, if you like this show or any of our other shows on YouTube, liking, sharing, and subscribing helps us out immensely. If you like our content and don't mind that extra mile, you can always support us over on Patreon, over at patreon.com/mtg the stack.
Alright, Nutmeg, say like Clifford TV.
Comment down below any of your thoughts and feelings, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Alright, first up we have Calvin playing a CEDH Godo Bandit Warlord build. This is a pretty run-of-the-mill Godo deck that wants to win by using Godo's activated ability to search up Helm of the Host and kill all of its opponents using infinite combat. Calvin keeps a 6-card hand including a Mana Crypt, an Iron Mirror, an Arcane Signet, Reforge the Soul, Sad Robot, Snow-Covered Mountain, and he has to bottom a Shadow Spear per the London Mulligan. Next up there's me. I'll be playing my Yuriko the Tiger Shadow build, which is a blue-black tempo aggressive strategy that wants to win the game by dealing a ton of damage using Yuriko's triggered ability. I've decided to keep a 7-card hand with an Ornithopter, a Sensei's Divining Top, a Personal Tutor, a Demonic Tutor, a Snapcaster Mage, an Island, and a Misty Rainforest. Next up we have Guy playing his Greven Predator Captain build. This is going to be an all-in linear aggressive deck that wants to win using Greven to deal a ton of commander damage to each opponent by sacrificing creatures that have huge bodies but very small converted mana costs. Guy liked his opener, so he's keeping 7, including an Unlikely Aid, a Wall of Blood, a Red Elemental Blast, a Ketis Emberclaw Familiar, Talisman of Indulgence, a Mountain, and a Smoldering Marsh. And finally, we have Ajdin playing as Kamahl, Heart of Krosa partner pairing with Jeska, Thrice Reborn. This is an Elf Ball style deck that wants to go big mana in order to use Kamahl or Jeska to end the game very quickly, with the added caveat that if he ever is able to generate infinite mana, both of his commanders can pretty easily win the game outright. Ajdin opted to go down to 6 cards, including a Boreal Druid, a Pyroblast, a Red Elemental Blast, a Lightning Greaves, Forest, a Windswept Heath, and he had to ship Kessig Wolfrun to the bottom of his deck. Card game. Card game, card game, card game, card game. Yeah. Card game. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Calvin wins.
I told you.
And it is Calvin's turn. Calvin won card game as usual, so we'll start by drawing a card, playing a basic Mountain, and a Mana Crypt. Then we'll tap the Mana Crypt for 2, and he's going to drop Arcane Signet. Then he's going to tap out completely in order to cast Iron Mirror, and I'll pass the turn to me. After I take a second to gawk at Calvin's board, I'll draw my card for turn and play Misty Rainforest as my land for turn. I'll immediately fetch, losing a life, and then I'll shock in Watery Grave, dropping down 2 more to 37. I'm going to play Ornithopter for free, then I'll tap for 1 black, and I will play my Sensei's Divining Top, and then we'll pass to Guy's turn where he's going to draw for turn, and play a Smoldering Marsh tapped, and pass to Ajdin. He'll play a basic Forest as his land for turn, tapping for green to play Boreal Druid, and then we'll move to Calvin's second turn where he has a Mana Crypt trigger. He will win the trigger and take no damage, then I'll draw his card for turn, and play a basic Mountain as his land for turn. At this point, he's going to tap for 4 mana and cast Panharmonicon. With nothing else, he's going to pass the turn to me, and I'll untap and draw my card for turn. I'll play a basic Island as my land for turn, and then cast Demonic Tutor, searching for a Snuff Out, knowing that if no one can answer that Godo, we're all dead next turn. Then I'll pass the turn to Guy, he'll untap and play a basic Mountain, and he's going to cast Dockside Extortionist. While this is on the stack, I decide I need to spin my top and put it on top of the library, so he only makes 5 treasures instead of 6. Then the Dockside will trigger, making him a grand total of 5 treasures. He will spend all of them immediately to cast a turn 2 Greven Predator Captain, and pass the turn to Ajdin. Ajdin's going to draw and play a Windswept Heath as his land for turn. Then he's going to tap for 2 using the Druid in order to cast Lightning Greaves. He's going to put the Greaves onto the Druid, and will pass the turn to Calvin. Calvin will untap, and we're going to go to the Mana Crypt trigger. He's going to flip, or I'm going to flip, Toad is Pain, so he takes 3 and draws a card. Then he's going to tap for 3 mana, and he's going to cast Seething Song, gaining 5 mana into his mana pool. He'll use all that mana immediately and cast Reforge the Soul. That means he called out that I definitely tutored the answer to his commander, because I have to put it in the graveyard and draw 7 fresh cards. At this point, Calvin's going to tap for 1 red and cast Gamble, and he's going to search his library for a card. In this case, it'll be Final Fortune, an extra turn spell that only costs 2 mana, but causes him to lose the game at the end of that extra turn. He'll pass the Gamble pile to Ajdin, and he will have him discard a Thran Dynamo. Then Calvin's going to drop a basic Mountain as his land for turn, and cast Final Fortune. The whole table groans, but it ends up resolving, so he's going to put that Final Fortune into the bin and on tap for his extra turn. On the bright side, an extra turn means an extra mana crypt trigger, so we flip, Toad his pain, and he takes an additional 3 damage. Then he'll draw and play another basic mountain as his land for turn. At this point he's going to tap for 6 and play his commander, Godo, Bandit Warlord. There's a Panharmonicon in play, so it actually triggers twice. The first trigger is going to net him a Hammer of Nizan, which is going to automatically equip to Godo, and any equipments that follow it will do so as well. Then he gets Helm of the Host. Ajdin does have a response. He's going to fetch, losing 1 life, and he's going to search his library for a copy of Stomping Ground and shock it in, losing 2 more life. Then he's going to tap for 1 green and Nature's Claim, the Helm of the Host. This is going to destroy Helm of the Host. Calvin's going to gain 4 life, but Calvin can't win the game now, so at the end of his turn, he loses to Final Fortune. I'll move to my turn. This just happened.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of extra turns, I'm going to Miracle a Temporal Mastery off the top of my library, play a Morphic Pool, and then drop Senses Divining Top. With nothing else, that was functionally a Rampant Growth, so I'll move to my next turn and play Marsh Flats in my first main phase. Then I'll head into combat and turn Ornithopter sideways at Guy, and he can't block it, so I'll ninjutsu in Yuriko. We're going to trigger the Yuriko, and I'll reveal Fallen Shinobi off the top, dealing 5 to both of my opponents. Then I'll drop Ornithopter for free, and I'll pass the turn to Guy, and I'll untap and play a basic Swamp as his land for turn. He's going to head into combat and turn his commander Greven sideways at me, and it has Menace so I can't block. Before we even go to blocks, he's going to sacrifice Dockside to it to lose 2 life and draw 1 card, giving Greven 7 power. I take it and go to 7 commander damage. Guy goes to discard, and we move to Ajdin's turn, where he plays a basic Forest as his land for turn, then he taps it for green to play an Elvish Mystic. He's going to move the Lightning Greaves over to the Elvish Mystic so it has haste, and then he's going to tap the Elvish Mystic in conjunction with his Boreal Druid to cast Paradise Druid, which he then equips with the Lightning Greaves. Now he has 3 mana, so he's going to tap that Paradise Druid in conjunction with his 2 lands to drop Omnath, Locus of Mana. With nothing else, he's going to try to pass the turn to me, but I'm going to fetch. Guy has a response to this fetch, and I should have seen this coming. He taps for 3 and casts Opposition Agent. Now, instead of me searching my library for a basic swamp and putting it into play, Guy's going to be able to search my library for a basic swamp, and I'll be able to play it next turn off of his Opposition Agent. We're going to spin my top still at the end of Ajdin's turn, and we'll rearrange those cards, and we'll go to my turn, where I'll untap and draw for turn. I'll play a Tainted Isle as my land for turn, and then I'm going to tap for 3 and exile 8 cards from my graveyard in order to cast Temporal Trespass. Yes, this is my second extra turn for the game. After that, I'm going to spin my Senses Divining Top and rearrange the top 3 cards of my library. Then I'm going to go into combat and attack Ajdin with my Yuriko to see if he wants to chump. He doesn't, so Yuriko is going to connect and deal 1 damage to him. I'll reveal the top card, which is a Dig Through Time, dealing 8 to both of my opponents. After that, we'll move to my next extra turn, and I'll draw my card for turn. I'll play Mutavault as my land for turn. Then I'm going to head into combat and attack Ajdin with both of my creatures. He's going to declare no blocks, and then I'm going to have an action. I'll ninjutsu in Throat Slitter in place of the Ornithopter. I'll deal 3 to Ajdin, trigger the Throat Slitter, and kill his Omnath, Locus of Mana. Then we have 2 Yuriko triggers. We're going to reveal Sunken Ruins and a Tetsuko, dealing 2 to both of my opponents. I'll drop Ornithopter, and then I'll pass the turn to Guy. He's going to untap, draw his card for turn, and play my basic swamp from under the Opposition Agent. Then he's going to tap for 2 and play Lupine Prototype. I'm going to respond by trying to Arcane Denial the Lupine Prototype, but he's going to Pyroblast my Arcane Denial. All of this resolves, and the Lupine Prototype does enter play. Then he's going to enter combat and turn Greven sideways at me. Sacrificing the Lupine Prototype, he'll lose 5 life, and his Greven will become a 10 power creature. I'm not going to block, so after Guy draws his 5 cards, he'll tap for 1 black and Tainted Strike the Greven. This has me dying to Infect, so Guy's going to lose my swamp that he played, and then we're going to pass the turn to Ajdin.
Alright, prepare to be amazed.
In his first main phase, he'll play a basic Forest as his land for turn, and then he's going to tap for 4 mana.
We're going to play Karametra's Acolyte.
What does it do?
She taps, adds a green to my mana pool for each.
Yep. Yeah.
For my devotion.
Yep. Got it.
Put Greaves on her.
Yep.
Greaves is on Keymetra.
Okay, cool. Let's put Umbral Mantle on her.
What's that do?
Oh, it's infinite mana.
It makes infinite mana?
And it makes her infinitely bigger.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so tap.
Now, can we explain how that works?
We tap, add 4 to our mana pool.
Yep.
And then we use 3 of it
To untap her?
to untap her.
Yep.
She gets +2/+2.
Okay, and you're going to do this 9,000 times.
9,000.
Cool. So you play, now what do you do?
Now we cast
Come on.
Kamahl. Right?
Yep.
So she'll have trample.
Yep.
Good game.
All right, we know, for any of you who caught it, you're correct. You actually can't equip the Umbral Mantle to the creature with the Lightning Greaves on it, because Lightning Greaves grants Shroud, not hexproof. Most of you probably figured out, oh, they probably already knew that, because yes, obviously you could just move the Lightning Greaves, put the Umbral Mantle on it, and then move the Lightning Greaves back to that creature. It all works out. Just wanted to get that out of the way immediately for anyone who's watching and is like, hey, you can't do that. That's not how Shroud works. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about how the game went. This game was insane. Calvin was setting up to just straight up win on turn like 3 with Godo. It technically would have been his turn 4 because he took an extra turn with Final Fortune. You guys saw it. Ajdin had the Nature's Claim he did wheel into it thanks to Calvin's Reforged the Soul. Calvin killed himself with Final Fortune. That's all there is to that. Then there was me. And this is interesting because after Calvin died, I think it kind of looked like the Yuriko deck was going to win. I was set up to take an extra turn, deal a bunch of damage, and then I took an extra turn after that. And this was all after actually taking my second turn off in order to go buy my demonic tutor so I could tutor for the snuff out. However, it was wheeled away because Calvin's big brain, and I lost the answer. I got killed by Guy, who after it looked like I was gonna win, then it looked like Guy was gonna win. Because they had his Greven and he tainted striked me, and Guy and Ajdin, they didn't take any extra turns. Calvin and I, between him and I, we took 3 extra turns. So after I was out of the way, they were both on their normal turn 4, and Guy was set up with Greven, and it looked like a handful of cards, and he was gonna be able to punch Ajdin the next turn for lethal, but that's not what happened. Ajdin drew, and he made infinite mana, and he killed him with Kamahl. I basically just recited the game in the order that it happened, because that's the only way I can really wrap this game up. There was a lot of Magic played over the course of a 4 turn cycle game. I thought it was awesome. It's a nice juxtaposition from the last 2 games we uploaded with Chris, which were like slower games. I think a little bit more interesting for people who don't spend a ton of money on Commander and are maybe a little bit more budget oriented when building their decks. We kind of do both. This is an example of the extreme end of the high power level that we like to play at. So for any of you who didn't know that, now you know that. This video is already short. I'm not gonna make it artificially longer by talking too much here at the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Anyone who watched till this far on the video, you probably watched till this far on the last video. We're getting this budget deck thing ready for the Kaldheim Uncommon Commanders, and that's coming out in a couple days, so I hope you guys are really pumped for that, because I'm really pumped for that. I really love how these Uncommon Commanders are operating on the budget constraints we gave ourselves, so that's really interesting. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.